Hello and welcome to this brand new edition of Big Fish Small Pod. And if you are new to the Small Pod, here we'd like to give you all the information about the Marlins for that specific day in 10 minutes or less. And here is a continuation of my brand new series where I interview fans, media members of the Marlins community and get their input on how the Marlins have been this offseason and their projection for this coming year. And of course, my guest from Lemon City Live, multiple time Jeopardy champion, Alex Aguirre. Alex, it's always great to have you on.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate it. And thank you for mentioning the back-to-back Marlins Jeopardy champion. You can never leave that out. But thank you for having me on. And I'm looking forward to talking about this upcoming Marlins season and what their offseason has been like.
Yeah, let's start things off. It hasn't been the off season where Marlins fans and personnel have been
Yeah.
looking at, waiting for. No free agent signings, or at least no major league free agent signings. It seems like they're more focused of right now retooling the front office and getting things situated there compared to on the field. But what has been your lookout this off season? What have you seen? Are you disappointed? Just what has been your, I don't want to say review, but looking at this off season so far for the Fish?
Well, my brief review, I guess, or my brief critique for this offseason is it's going to be, like you mentioned, disappointing. There have been some bright spots because they could have, missed out on re-signing, Bell. But in the long stretch, we're in mid January. In the long stretch of the offseason, that's pretty much been the high point. If you were to ask me, in terms of player personnel, so I know they've made a lot more moves behind the scenes in the front office, but that's, in my opinion, the brighter spot of this offseason for the Fish.
Yeah, just tons of new hires there. Peter Bendix, Gabe Kapler, to
Yeah.
so on mentioned. What have you seen on this front office? What do you think of maybe Bendix's style in terms of maybe hiring other front office pieces and maybe his more analytical approach to the game?
Well, you name it right there. The Marlins are going more, I think, analytical heavy. I know there was a bit of, I wouldn't say clash, but there was a bit of heads butting a bit when Don Mattingly was here, and then the front office was more getting heavier into analytics, and which is fine and all, but it's always good to have that cohesiveness with your manager and front office on what the game plan is. If we're going to go with the stats driven, or we're going to go with more the flow of the game. So if that's so, I'm glad the front office is already setting a tone with in that regard. Now, Skip, we've noticed, and even this is 1 year in Miami, that he does go by the stats. He does, he does go with better matchups and stuff. But he's also shown in different occasions that he'll go with his gut. He'll go with he'll let a guy ride out a little bit longer in the game, or let a reliever face a couple extra hitters. So he does he at least he's able to bend and he's adaptable. And then so if he's setting the tone in that regard with we're gonna go with stats driven, then it's just gonna everything's gonna flow from that point forward. And he is bringing a Tampa Bay approach. They're a small market. They were a small market team, and Miami is no different. They just have some guys that make a little bit more money individually, but at the end of the day, the Marlins are a small market team,
Yeah.
and so it's good to have, I guess, that mindset be brought in, because sometimes you don't want somebody coming in and they just want to spend, thinking you can solve everything like that. Not in this case. You got to play small. You got to think, from the ground up. And he has a lot of experience in Tampa Bay doing that, and has seen it. They haven't won it all, but they've had a lot of success in a very tough division.
Yeah, they're definitely looking for that consistency. We've seen them in the playoffs last season. They were in the World Series in 2020. It almost seems like they're on the cusp of winning the World Series. But when you see the playoffs, you usually see Tampa Bay there, whether it's as a division winner or as a wild card. And that's when you can see what Peter wants. Peter wants more of that consistency rather than just, one playoff appearance or one real one in the last 20 years. You want to have at least more than half and have a consistent outlook for the playoffs. And from there, I want to go ahead and more of his approach of the players.
Yeah.
We've heard a lot of rumors about trades. Luzardo
Yeah.
potentially getting traded. Edward Cabrera could be on the block. Trevor Rogers. It seems like a lot of guys are potentially could be on the move coming opening day. But what is your outlook on that? Are you pro these guys getting traded, or do you have a preference, or how do you think that rumor of these guys potentially being moved?
I have a little bit of mixed feelings with those trade rumors because on one side of the coin, this is I'm coming from a standpoint of, well, you're losing Sandy for the rest of the season. He's not going to play. So you lost your ace, you lost your horse. Now you're thinking of trading your number two, who is going to be your ace this season. That's one side of the coin. It's like, why? Why? What do you gain from that? And you're coming off a postseason appearance, your first one in 20 years. Let's be real here. 2020 was fun and all, but it's been 20 years.
Mhm.
And so that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is going back to what I mentioned earlier, the Tampa Bay approach. Right now, the Marlins farm system is extremely depleted, especially with position players. Yes, they have a couple of good guys here and there, but what made Tampa Bay consistent and, that consistent success, yes, they didn't win it all, like I said, but they're as a fan, you appreciate the fight and you appreciate the consistency, kind of like the Miami Heat down here. They're gonna always make the playoffs and put up a good fight every year, no matter who's there out there on the court. So but my baseball's a little different. You got to build from the ground up, especially if you're a small market team. So there comes that Tampa Bay approach, and if you're gonna trade, so the other side of the coin is, yeah, okay, fine, trade Luzardo, trade Braxton Garrett, but if you trade those guys, you better be damn sure that you're getting high quality prospects in return that
Mhm.
you can finally develop, because there's been countless and countless and countless trades with this organization that they're getting all these prospects in return, and less than half, a small percentage of them develop into quality, just, average MLB players. And the same cannot happen. So I hope this fresh mindset, this, different, approach can bring that type of Tampa Bay success in terms of developing players. So there's, it's a love hate feeling what I have with these trade rumors. If it happens, it sucks. But if it doesn't, great. We're still going to be a little competitive with our rotation.
Yeah, you don't want to go ahead and have these guys, and when you do get them, we need hitters, and you trade them. Oh, let's trade them to Baltimore, let's trade them to Arizona, let's trade them to Texas. Organizations that are able to develop these kinds of players. You want to be able to be one of those organizations that can develop players. You don't want to depend on other teams to develop the hitters for you. And hopefully we could see that in the future, the way Peter's getting a Rachel Blacktovich from the Yankees organization, see how she could develop players coming from the
Yeah.
Yankees. Um, and another question I have for you, just overlooking 2024, it's
Yeah.
relatively the same roster, including, if you want to include Vidal Brujan, Calvin Faulkner, those type of guys,
Betancourt.
then Christian Bethancourt,
And notice how some of them have race ties. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he's up. Maybe Peter's up to something that we don't know.
Gabe Kapler played for the Rays while Peter was there.
Yeah.
It's they definitely want to get the Rays DNA in here. But for 2024, do you see the Marlins as a playoff team? Maybe what's your win total, and how can the Marlins, get over 500? Just asking to get to the 81 win mark.
Man, I think 81 wins is a big ask right now. Looking at the roster today, January 16th, that's just the reality. You lost your ace. Granted, the Marlins were able to scratch and claw their way into the playoffs last year with the Sandy not at his best, and he was gone for the last, I forget now, about a month of the season. He went down with with the injury. So yes, they were able to mix and match and barely, I guess, get into the playoffs, it was amazing. What a great feeling for this organization. But you lose your horse. Now you're putting your other top pitchers in the trade rumors. Right, there's still rumors at the end of the day, but as of right now today, I think this organization and this team they're going to be battling between 70 to 75 wins. That's kind of like 81 wins will be an amazing feat, because think about it. They're also they lost Jorge Soler. He opted out of his contract.
Yeah.
You're losing one of the top power hitters in the game. He's a premier DH, and obviously I understand his side of things. It's smart of him to opt out, because he can definitely get more money. Now the question is, I think he's still available. So we can't discount a reunion possibly, or the Marlins allocate that money to another ball player that's available that can, it's kind of a similar feature power hitter type. But standing the way the roster is right now, I don't think this team can kind of replicate what they did last year, because even with, I guess, subpar Sandy was, he ate up a lot of innings for this
Mhm.
rotation. He was still picking up the bulk, for the squad and for the rotation. So it's, there is going to be things to look forward to. Tanner Scott going to be, now the closer. He kind of already molded himself into that. Christian Betancourt tandem with Nick Fortes. Let's see how that goes. They say Betancourt can help, with the running game. So there is things to look forward to, but Marlins lacked in power. Yet even with Jorge Soler's thump in the lineup, now they lost him. Now, yes, you have Berger and Bell, but in today's day and age of in Major League Baseball, you need at least 4 or 5 guys that can at any given time can hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
And the Marlins right now have guys that can do that, but not on a consistent basis compared to the other lineups that you see in the NL East, like Philly and Atlanta, and heck, even New York. Yes, they put together, they try to put together a dream team and all, but they still have names in that lineup. So the Marlins are still in a tough division, and with the way that it looks right now today, 70 to 80 wins will be kind of like my prediction. They got to make some moves. They got to do some Bell/Burger type trades to kind of put some oomph into this team, because I don't see this team, battling by the time they reach, July. And I hope they prove me wrong, because they were really fun and exciting to watch last season. But it's just been, like, as we mentioned in the beginning of this pod, it's been disappointing, because you would expect to build off something good, with especially the NO manager of the year, with a rookie manager and Skip.
Mhm.
And you lose your horse. I get it. You lose your ace and Sandy, but you know, you put some money last year into getting a guy like Johnny Cueto. Find another guy. Find, like, you struck out with that move. That's okay. Find another guy to fill in that spot and eat up innings and be an average MLB starter. They got a lot of question marks left on this roster. Who's going to play shortstop? Right now, the top of the depth chart is John Birdie. There's still a lot of question marks to be answered, and we're getting close to spring training, like a month away, and nothing has really been answered. Nothing has really been done. So, in a long-winded answer, there it is.
Yeah, it's been very difficult. Not at least if you're going to make one, the Marlins are going to make one move, at least a starting pitcher, because it's going to be difficult to rely on Luzardo and Braxton Garrett, who are coming off, I believe, their highest innings ever. And
Correct.
that was as a two, a three, and now you're bumping them up one. You're asking Luzardo to go out there and beat Sandy. You're asking Braxton Garrett, be that Luzardo type role. And you want all these innings from a guy like Eddie Cabrera, who was sent down, come up, issues with walks. Trevor Rogers, who hasn't really been healthy since 21. Max
Right.
Meyer, who's coming off Tommy John.
A
You're
lot of
asking.
question marks.
Hopefully, by the time spring training rolls around, they at least have one signing. But Alex, my last question to you: who is
What's
your
up?
breakout player in 24 for the Fish? Who is the one guy you think
Ooh.
is going to have just a great season?
Wow. Okay. Hmm. As much criticism and as much, I guess, downpour of just, like, not hatred, but just like ridicule for his time here in Miami, I'm rooting for um Avi, Avi Garcia.
Ah,
I'm rooting
okay.
for him because listen to this and hear me out here. I know it's a crazy, pick. And I'm not, he like, we'll see. He's not, like, his tenure in Miami has not been very good, and he's been unhealthy and things like that. But listen to this: if Jorge Soler does not resign with Miami, he goes elsewhere, which chances are he probably will, because he might be out of Miami's budget. You got to need some, who's going to provide the thump in the lineup other than Berger and Bell and Chisholm. Hopefully he can be part of that mix as well. We'll see. That's still not enough. So you need somebody to kind of like support and protect those other guys in the lineup. So Garcia might be that guy if he can stay healthy and finally put it together. He's shown in the past that he can be a solid MLB outfielder that can provide you 15 to 20, 22 home runs in a season.
Mhm.
So, and I feel like if he can just stay healthy and just get focused and locked in and finally be comfortable and be in a positive environment like it was last season, for once in a long time, there was a positive feel in that clubhouse. And I feel like just being in that environment can do a lot of good for him, and being part of that camaraderie as well. So he, that might be my pick. Avi Garcia. I'm gonna go with I'm just my mind's been going more offense oriented because I know the pitching staff has had question marks since day one of the offseason. So I'm just gonna go offense oriented right here with my response, and I'm kind of rooting for him in a way because he's been to have his career, you got to be a good player. To play a decade long plus in the MLB, you got to be a good player, or else you wouldn't cut it at all. And he's that type of player. Not a Hall of Famer, not a time All-Star, but a good enough player to give you 15 to 20 mid-20s home runs in a season. And if he stays healthy, he can be capable of that. So he's my choice. Let's do it.
2-2 from Maeda. This one is hit a ton. Way out of here to left field. Home run, Avi Garcia. 1-0 Marlins.
I like the answer. I like the answer, Alex. I appreciate you coming on. This is a little more than 10 minutes, but when I'm talking to you, it flies by. It flies by.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me, Daniel. And sorry to your listeners. I broke the promise of over 10 minutes. Hopefully, if I'm back on again, I'll be a man of my word and we'll be under 10 minutes. But I get into it. My responses.
It had to be done. It had to be done. Well, Alex, I appreciate you coming on.